The Battle of the Irish.
Battle of the Irish, man.
Man, Coach, go ahead and take us through it, man. It was our ELLIE House game of the week.
For sure.
State semifinal.
Yep. Hey, all the chips move to the middle of the table like you playing poker. You know what I mean? Winner go home. Winner go to the state championship game. Unfortunately, loser go home. Toledo Central Catholic came out on top. They won 7-6. Quarterback Ali Bodane, 33.7 seconds to go. Threw a fade ball to Preston Frizel in the back left corner. And the PAT was, went through. Squeaked through. It barely went through, but it went through. So Toledo Central Catholic came back with the win, 7-6. I start on Ursuline first. You know what I mean? Ursuline came out, first two drives. First drive, drove down, got a field goal. Second drive, after DC had a big punt return, they end up driving again, getting it inside the red zone. They couldn't capitalize them first two possessions, though. So they jumped out 6-0 on two field goals. We talked about it. I kept saying it to you and Daniel all throughout the game. The first two possessions may come back and haunt Ursuline. In a game like that, when you're trying to knock off the state champions and move forward, you need touchdowns. And I just kept saying, as good as Ursuline was playing, and Ursuline played good all game long, they was only up 6-0. So all it takes is for one play for Toledo Central Catholic to make one play. Now they got the lead. So, it sucks. But, first thing I want to do is give a shout out, to the whole Ursuline team, the coaching staff. You know what I mean? They had a great year so far. But particularly talking about Friday's game, I got to give a shout out to Coach McGlynn, Coach Harris, that defensive staff over there, and their defense played lights out. Unfortunately, they gave up the touchdown pass at the end of the game with 33.7 seconds to go. But they dominated the game from start up until 33.7 seconds to go. Ursuline was the most physical team. They were smacking them in the mouth. I felt like Toledo Central Catholic was caught off guard by Ursuline's physicality. And you even said it. Toledo Central Catholic was the bigger team, but Ursuline was the more physical team. Specifically their defense. They caused a lot of turnovers. They caused 3 turnovers on the defense. They also caused a lot of penalties, a lot of holding penalties by the Toledo Central Catholic offensive line. And that was just mainly forced off the play from the defensive front. Carter Rudzik. Shout out to sophomore Rashad Harris playing with his hair on fire. He played lights out. AJ Snyder coming off the edge. He was disruptive in the run game. He was strong in the pass game. They pretty much dominated the line of scrimmage. For the first 3 quarters and 3/4 of the game, they pretty much dominated the game up front. The second level players, Kevin Boucher, John Fragos, they flying around. They were smacking stuff in the mouth. They both had multiple big hits, big time hits. And then the secondary played well. We talked about this Ursuline secondary being one of the best secondaries in the state of Ohio, and I thought they proved it. Going against a Toledo Central Catholic team that got 3 big-time receivers, I felt like the secondary held up. And then also you got a kid like Tyron Davis who was able to cover, but then he also was flashing in the run game with big hits, setting the edge. I just thought the defense played lights out. I thought Coach McGlynn was a couple steps ahead of the offensive coordinator from Toledo Central Catholic. It looked like Ursuline kind of knew what was coming all night. So I want to make sure I give them guys a shout out. But all in all, as good as the defense played, it wasn't enough. Offensively for Ursuline, first couple drives was good. Hit Devontae Taylor on about a 30-yard fade. DC was able to make plays with his feet. And all in all, that was kind of it. Watching Ursuline that would have been week 15. So watching Ursuline for 15 weeks now, we kind of see how explosive they were. Coming in, averaging 38 to 40 points a game, multiple playmakers in the backfield, out wide, and that quarterback, of course. So to see them only score 6 points, you don't see that too often. And at the end of the game, the second half pretty much just came down to, can DC Farrell will them to a win? And he tried his best. He made a lot of big plays with his feet on third downs, extending the drives, had a fake punt and converted that for a first down. I don't know if it was called or if he just had a feel for it. Either way, if he had a feel for it, It was a perfect time for it. And DC tried to do everything he can to will his team to victory. Also, shout out to sophomore Amir Brown. Young sophomore playing on that defense too, kind of playing that nickel position. He was throwing his face in the fire, hitting everything, moving, making plays. Shout out to the whole defense. Luke Kohler had an interception. It was negated by a penalty, but he had a good game as always. So the defense played well. Offense, it wasn't their best night. Of course, like we said, we've seen them all year, but, at the end of the day, you got to give credit to Toledo Central Catholic. They showed the heart of a champion. They showed the resolve of a champion. They didn't play a good game at all. I know the coaching staff would tell anybody that, and I know the players would tell anybody that. But At the end of the day, when they needed to drive to go get the touchdown and move to the state championship, they was able to go do that. Also, I want to give their defense credit. I thought Toledo Central Catholic's defense played a great game also. The first 2 drives, Ursuline kind of had a rhythm. After the first 2 drives, I thought Toledo Central Catholic's defense was stout also. We know about the secondary they got over there. Victor Singleton had a good game. Devontae ended up getting him for 1 catch over the top early, but all in all, he pretty much won that. He won that matchup, not because he was locking up Devontae, but more so because weather, circumstances, how many chances Devontae got. But all in all, when he did throw to Devontae, sometimes he caught it, sometimes he didn't. That matchup kind of broke even. So for Toledo Central Catholic, that's a win. Because when you're looking at Devontae, he's big plays, big plays, big plays, touchdowns, and he's averaging 17 yards a catch. So I felt like the defense for Toledo Central Catholic played great. And when their offense needed to put together a drive, they put it together, and they got the touchdown at the end to win. On first down, they threw the fade to Preston Friesel in the right corner of the end zone. And we looked at each other, and I remember telling you, the quarterback was kind of late on that and a little bit short. They're going to come back to that. Literally 2 plays later, they just switched the formations, same matchup, and this time the quarterback threw it on time. He put it at the top shelf where only his guy can get it. And shout out to Preston for making a big-time play in a big-time situation in a big-time game. So it was a great game. You know what I mean? Being local, you hate to see the local team lose. More so, you hate to see them kids being hurt like that. That's the one part I hate about coaching at the end of the year, football or basketball. Unless you win the state championship, you probably got to go through that moment. So I hate seeing that. So we kind of try to get out of there as soon as we can just so we ain't have to try to see them boys like that. But all in all, it was a great game. Shout out to Ursuline for, they did their part as far as making it a great game. And, got to give Toledo Central Catholic more credit. They showed the heart of a champion, the resolve of a champion, and they on their way to try to go defend their state championship next week.
For sure, Coach. I feel like you summed it pretty much, summed it up. Man, to see Ursuline lead there without a touchdown.
Yeah.
Like I said, first and foremost, shout out to both programs.
Mm-hmm.
They both put on a classic. I believe we had like an instant classic, a lot of big hits. The ball was on the turf.
Yep.
Defensive struggle. Still have some offensive big plays. Still have some special team plays. Like everything you could really want. The weather, you know what I'm saying, were for true ballers only.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? You had to love it to be in the mix. And they put on an instant classic, first of all. But getting back to caveat what you was mentioning, to see Ursuline average 30-something points and not to be able to get in the end zone was surprising.
Yeah.
1 touchdown for the whole game for both teams.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? For both teams.
I would have never bet on that.
Right. We everybody's bet ticket was shredded up, right? It's almost like to say that Ursuline beat them but didn't win.
Right.
It's like they beat them.
They dominated majority of the game, was playing the best.
But you didn't win, like you said.
We
had mentioned prior to us beginning this show, Toledo really put together 1 drive.
Yeah.
1 inspired drive.
Yep. Shout out to running back Tyler Morgan. Like you said, he put together that run that kind of, they pushed the chain. Like you said, it was probably a 12, 13, 14-yard run, but the momentum of it,
his
he kind of got up. He with the spirit, kind of got the crowd into it, the sideline into it. They kind of piggybacked off that.
It was almost, from the flip side of it, like you said, we local, we have an attachment to those young men, and we hate to see them like that. On the flip side, as a football purist, though, we do, you see that championship pedigree.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like we had mentioned it in our preview of the game of the week is you have to knock the champ out. You got to knock the champ out.
Got to.
And as long as they had a chance, you could tell they never wavered as far as their belief. Mm-hmm. They've been there too many times, and I had mentioned like I wanted to see what Ursuline would do in a close game.
Right.
They definitely didn't disappoint.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Coach McGlynn, like you were saying, Coach Harris. They was pitching a shutout until 33 seconds left in the game.
33 seconds, man.
33 seconds left in the game. They were pitching a shutout. Big salute to DC Farrell. Mm-hmm. He had an very inspired performance. Shout out to Tyron Davis, Kevin Boudre, Boucher, as you call him.
Boucher,
those just seeing those kids play inspired.
Yeah.
They you know, Tyron and DC's last time out in the Ursuline Irish uniform, seeing them play the game inspired. And they can hang their hat high, even though they didn't get the outcome they wanted, but they can hang their hat high on the performance that they gave.
For sure.
You know, a lot of other players made big plays, big Phil Bowser, you know, and they was creating those lanes for DC to improvise. And you know, shout out to the guys, man. It was a great ride.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? They played the game the right way. They carry it the right way. And so shout out to them, and shout out Toledo Central Catholic. You know, shout out to them, because they showed their champion pedigree. They didn't waver, and when they needed it, they went to a big time player, and he made a big time play. And
that was pretty much it, bro.
That was it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Shout out to the great Rudy Tomjanovich, the old Houston Rockets coach. He said it best: you can never underestimate the heart of a champion.
Indeed.
And yeah, to use the Boston analogy that you use, Ursuline knocked the champ down.
Right.
But they didn't knock him out.
They didn't knock him out.
But they didn't knock him out. And it wasn't from trying to knock him out. It wasn't
for lack of effort. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't for lack of effort.
Sometimes it's just how the cookie crumble.
Right.
I mean, when you play in the game, somebody got to win or got to lose. And at the end of the day, that's why, you know, we got to end up giving the credit to Toledo Central Catholic, because they showed that championship pedigree and resolve. And Tyler Morgan, quarterback Ali Boudin made plays with their feet in that last drive. They hit the receiver number one. He had a big catch, kind of just moved the chains. And then when it came all down to it, they went to the big dog. They went to the big fella, Preston Freisel, put it up at the top shelf where only his guy can get it. And shout out to him. He made that play. You know, stay tuned here at Between the Lines with Coach Stella. You'll get to see the interview. But shout out to that kid, man. Super humble. He was super classy, and win. Humble. You could tell he getting raised the right way. You could tell he got the championship mindset. You can also tell he wasn't happy with his performance and the team's performance. You know, that's, I'm sure, one of the reasons why they are a championship program, because their kids weren't satisfied at all. So, all in all, shout out to both sides, both coaching staffs, both fan bases. It was a great game, and you know, appreciate the Miss Beck for giving us the hospitality, letting our faces be in the place. And I'm excited. I was excited to be there, man. It was great high school football, man.
For sure, man. We're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be right back with our road to the state.
Between the Lines with Coach Stella, baby. We're here at our ELLIE House game of the week. Division III state semi-championship game. Semifinal game. We got the man of the night. Just caught the game-winning touchdown. Preston Freisel. Preston, talk to us. Tell us how you feeling, baby.
I feel great. I mean, nothing much to say. Went out there for our seniors, and I didn't want this to be their last game, and nobody did, so I'm proud.
Take me back to the huddle. You see the quarterback come in the huddle. You hear the play call. Yeah. Tell me exactly what you're thinking.
Make a play. I knew I was going to go make a play, and I'm thankful my coaches trust me enough to go out there and make that play.
Now, going into next week, I think you guys are going to play Bishop Watterson. I'm not for sure. You won 2 years ago, Division II state champions. Last year, Division III. Tell me what you guys thinking about going into next week. What some things you could clean up going into next week for the state championship game?
I think just offense. Driving the ball. We kind of shot ourselves in the foot, dumb penalties, and eliminating those, and our defense just keeps playing how they're playing. I mean, they played great.
Shout out to the defense. Defense played well all night. They forced 3 or 4 turnovers, so we want to make sure we give love to the defense. But when you catch the game-winning touchdown catch to send your team to the state championship, you got to be the player of the game. Last thing we do before we get out of here is shout-outs. You can shout out coaches, players, teammates, anybody you want to give love to, unsung heroes, anybody. Talk to the camera and give somebody some love.
Shout out our whole defense, our whole coaching staff, Central Catholic, and shout out Isaiah Fox. He got injured, and our sophomore quarterback. Shout out to him. He came and stepped up.
Before we get out of here, Preston, you going to the state championship again. Tell us how I feel, baby.
Go Irish.
Go Irish, baby. We out of here. Between the Lines with Coach Stella. You know how we get down. Hey.
Mario Manningham, stay locked in Between the Lines with Coach Stella.